So we left the fun of Nashville this morning and headed on our way to Memphis, a city that we were really excited to see but had been warned that we just needed to be on our guard, really. There's a lot of crime there, so we were a bit apprehensive about it. We headed down to the famous Beale Street as soon as we got there. That's sort of Memphis's version of Broadway in Nashville. All the bars, music is apparently down Beale Street. There was a little bit of police presence when we were there in the afternoon, but when Andy and Tim went back later that night, it was a very different vibe. I think there were about 15 police cars, mounted police as well, and they came back to the hotel within about 20 minutes. Grounds of Graceland. And this is Graceland, which is quite a modest home really, isn't it, considering his mega stardom. So Elvis put a £1,000 deposit on this when he was 21 years old, and the house at that time cost $102,000. So a lot of money. As far as we know, he lived here forever. And I think he actually passed away here as well. He lived here with his family and obviously his wife and daughter at the time. It's frozen in time. We were visiting Graceland on the 16th of August, which was actually the anniversary of Elvis's death 48 years ago. All the sort of ChatGPT, etc., said we'd be at Graceland for about 3.5 or 4 hours. Tim and I particularly are a bit rubbish with museums and tend to just whiz through them. But we really were at Graceland for 3.5 hours. It was great. There was so much memorabilia, film clips of his films and concerts throughout the years, scattered throughout all of the exhibitions. It was really interesting and just so sad to think that his life was cut so short. Then we went off to a music studio called Sun Studios. It's pretty famous. Elvis recorded his very first record here called That's Alright, and then carried on to record another 17 more. Jerry Lee Lewis recorded here. I mean, it's full of history and it smells of music. It was very cool. We went down to the recording studio where they actually made all the recordings, and I think it's still used to this day, and U2's drum kit is still there. They left it from their last recording. So X marks the spot where Elvis stood when he recorded his first record, and you're meant to tap it for good luck. So that's what I did. So what part of when they turned this Sun Studios into a public venue, one of the conditions was that the microphone that Elvis used should never be put behind glass, and that anybody could stand and have a go. We didn't do that, but we just filmed it. Well, we're just walking back from the Sun Studios, which is where Elvis recorded his very first record. It's 10 to 5 and it's probably 40 degrees. I can't really breathe properly. So we're just talking about the next section of our trip, and we're going to have to come up with different times of travelling because not only is it uncomfortable travelling on a bike in this heat, it's also dangerous. Yeah, we're going to have to leave.
We're going to have to get up early, like really early. Do the bulk of the travelling, I think, before 9 or 10 a.m. Because, well, as soon as you have to stop for any reason for more than a few minutes, you're just being baked alive. So I'm not sure we can cope with it, to be honest.
Yeah, anyway, another challenge. Another day, another challenge.
And I forgot my selfie stick. Well, I didn't forget it, but they wouldn't let me take it into Graceland for some reason. So
because it's for health and safety, you might hit something with it.
Well,
you might pretend it's a microphone and pretend you're Elvis, which would just be embarrassing for everybody inside.
Anyway, my arm's aching now, so I'm going to have to put it down.
Then we went to the famous Peabody Hotel in Memphis with a daily duck march tradition. It's been going since the 1930s, and the ducks come from their rooftop residence downstairs into the lobby fountain, and then they march back into the lift. It was packed with people coming to see this. It was quite fun, really, and then we had to stay for a drink. Gus's world famous chicken. Tim was desperate to try it, so we went along there to have a look. As soon as it had arrived, Rachel and I disappeared to a wine bar across the road.
Wow.
Well, Andy and Tim tried the chicken.
And we managed to get it without all the bits and pieces. So
You sure don't want to try just some of the batter? That's vegan. Shall I try some?
Okay, ready? Next stop was Natchez. We decided to spend the night there on our way to New Orleans. It's a pretty long drive. It was the Trail Parkway was meant to be the road to go on, which Tim and I did for a little bit. Andy and Rachel were following in the car. And then we got to Natchez, which was a nice stop. We had a great time there. We had booked into a B&B where we experienced some Southern hospitality. So the B&B was owned by David and Lee, and it was an absolute treasure trove. I think there were 15 generations worth of china, crystal, artefacts, antiques. It was quite extraordinary. David and Lee live there, it's their home, and they rent out the bottom 2 rooms for a B&B. Have a look. I mean, imagine polishing all of that, which they do themselves, by the way.
Hello, it's very hot. We've left Natchez this morning and now we're in Baton Rouge, and we have just stopped at Starbucks, which is one of only 2 in the entire state that I can find. So there's obviously something going on with Starbucks in the southern USA. Anyway, that's it. It's really, really hot.
It is. I can't even speak. So we're on our way into New Orleans. It was quite funky driving over these roads over what is essentially swampland. I was looking out for the gators on the side of the banks, but I didn't see any. Hopefully they got something more exciting to roast. So we got to our Airbnb and we couldn't get in, but we thought we'd go for a little wander around New Orleans while we waited to get in. So excuse my big motorbike boots, but I had to get changed behind a garage and I couldn't get my sandals out. It definitely has a vibe, New Orleans. Not one that I felt particularly comfortable in, I've got to be honest. It had a kind of an edgy vibe that you wouldn't really want to walk around alone or at night much. it wasn't quite as relaxed as I found Nashville. There was music, but not nearly as much as we found in Nashville, and the jazz wasn't like on every street corner and spilling out into the streets as we'd expected. On our first full day there, we walked around and then went to a couple of museums in New Orleans. I very much appreciated the personal history tour from Professor Williams, because he was great actually. It was really interesting, and I'm glad that we went into all the museums. I didn't know much about the territory, but it was founded by the French in 1718. It transitioned to the Spanish before being sold to the US in 1803. So there's a real mix of heritage here, and all of that I found really interesting. It's quite a strategic point in terms of geography. The Airbnb was a bit of a hoot because it was just one long corridor. For one horrible moment, we thought we'd all have to share one room. We didn't actually have to share one room, we just sort of had to walk through each other's rooms to get to the toilet, the kitchen, and out of the front door. Anyway, what else are friends for? Baby, what you want me to do? That's Domino played this piano. We went to the famous Spotted Cat, which is famous for jazz, and oh my god, I could last about 5 minutes. It just sounded like random instruments being bashed together. We did a tram tour which took us slightly out of the city, where we could see, I guess, the New Orleans equivalent of Millionaire's Row or something. The houses were spectacular, definitely had us kind of gone with the wind vibe to it, and I could imagine all the Southern Belles sitting on their front verandas sipping iced tea. It was quite cool to do it until the tram broke down. Tim and Andy were quite keen to go on the steamboat up the Mississippi. It was like a 2.5-hour journey. Rachel and I were less excited about it, but we did go on it, and yeah.
Here we are on the steamship Natchez, which is not a steamship, it's a paddle steamer, it's a diesel paddle steamer, but it's close enough. We're on the Mississippi, and we're getting ready for a very, very early start in the morning, because we have decided to go to Austin in one hit, and it's 506 miles.
Yeah, so we're going to leave at 5. We were going to pack the bike up tonight, but I don't think we're going to do that now. We're going to pack it up tomorrow morning, because our washing isn't done.
Oh, I forgot about that. And hang on, we've got to move out of somebody's way, hang on. Oh, I forgot to do the drying. Oops.
Big oops. So we won't be packing it up tonight, we'll be doing it tomorrow morning, and we aim to leave at 5 o'clock. So sorry to Rachel and Andy, because we'll be disturbing them at some wobbly hour to get on the bike, and it'll probably take us about 8 hours, I imagine.
I think it's going to be longer than that. Anyway, but it's like 40 degrees, it's so hot, and if we don't leave early, it's like we'll never be able to do it. So anyway, we're going to try and see what happens.
Honestly, shoot me now.
With heartfelt thanks to Ray and Andy for coming out to meet us. We left them at 5 in the morning to travel 506 miles to Austin, Texas, before it got too hot.